India, maybe specifies maybe what you did. And your journey has been amazing. And we largely deal in sneakers, boots, and sports shoes. And currently we partner with all the organized marketplaces and also doing our own D2C book to make work.
Hi, my name is Ashish. I run this brand called My Paperclip. We are one of India's largest premium notebooks brand. We're an omnichannel brand. We started as retail first and then progressed into the online space in about 2020. So flip to the story.
Very good.
Similar one, yeah. So your company. Yeah.
We serve about 2 million people in India. And now we have expanded our footprint into Australia, Middle East, and this year we expanded into the European countries.
Hi guys, my name is Anshita. I'm the founder of Fix My Curls. We're a curly and wavy hair care brand. Distribution wise, we are of course D2C first, but also on multiple marketplaces, 16 in India, 10 countries outside India, and now starting a little bit of offline with shorter stock.
Nice.
So while we are slightly distant from retail, I will maybe give an introduction to myself. So I'm Ridhima, and I run this company called Namhya Foods. It's an Ayurvedic brand in preventive healthcare segment. So all you women, if you have PCOS, PCOD with the guys, you need to get in touch. But having said that, we have solutions for PCOS, PCOD, diabetes, thyroid, liver. And I'm the third generation doing it in a very different format. So it's a 90-year-old business that we're trying to build, more so with D2C as the front brand wagon. But of course, looking forward to get into retail very soon.
Very nice. So Namhya Foods, I thought it was a food brand.
It is a food brand, but ideally it's an Ayurvedic brand. Yeah. So whatever we do has Ayurveda in it. So that's the essence of the brand.
Okay, good. So, सबको यूज करना पड़ेगा आपको मुझे देखिए ओके तो मैं फिर ओके और है गॉट इट ओके सो स्टार्ट करें हेलो एवरीवन welcome to D2C Dialogues, Scaling D2C Operations at RISE, Retail India Summit and Expo. We have a panel, round table with some exciting brand founders amongst us, and the topic of discussion today would be balancing growth and operational efficiency in India. Brief. The direct-to-consumer model growth is fueled by increasing disposable incomes and rising consumer aspirations in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, where D2C brands are tailoring products to meet local preferences. However, D2C brands face several common challenges including inventory management, customer acquisition, building brand, pricing strategies, customer experience management, scaling operations, staying agile in dynamic market, and leveraging technology and data analytics. While facing various challenges, they are also adopting strategies and technology to ensure their continued growth and success in the competitive e-commerce landscape. We will start the discussion with Jitendra. Jitendra, how did you and so the way we are going to structure this panel is one directly to the brands, second will be in general. So the first question that I'll be asking is about in generic, about how you guys have scaled up. Something what Ashish did mention about. But the whole objective here is then we want to get into various aspects of customer experience, scaling operations and inventory, etc. And we'll be touching it succinctly over the next 60 minutes or so. So, Jitendra, how did you establish a brand identity in such a short time? You are into the skincare or maybe hair care segment. How did Hairoriginals originate, and how did you manage to create that brand identity in such a short time?
So, talking about Hairoriginals as the category in itself, which we see is about human hair extensions and wigs. maybe 4 years, 5 years back, not many people were aware about it. Even today, not
Okay.
not many people still are aware about it. Basically, it's a very niche and a category creation sort of market. The truth is, we had thought of building up this market first in the US and other markets where it is established category, and then bringing it to India. But COVID and other things obviously had other plans. And what happened in this particular category, what we realized was that we started in a very strategic manner. First of all, we realized that let us try to put our products across the salons, which uses the products and all, and to see and learn from different other mall activations and other what should be the better strategies like. So we started with the online part and with some marketplaces, but quickly we were able to realize that for a product which is a new category creation, which has a high AOV of 5 to 6,000 rupees, at certain point, and I would say quickly enough in the journey, would make a lot of sense for us to actually build a retail sort of a model alongside the online approach, because a high category product, a high value product, which people still are discovering, it would need that sort of an approach, and that is, I would say, a calculated sort of omnichannel D2C approach that we try to build upon. And talking about the brand identity part, pretty much our focus has been on 100% natural human hair products, which we proudly say that we are the only one in the country who have learned the whole manufacturing technologies and processes and have built right from the sourcing, which is the India's global advantage, as there are temple donations. So we are the only brand in this segment who manufactures the complete category of products, right from sourcing from temples and delivering it to the end consumers. What it ensures is that we are able to make 100% make in India product for the world, and ensuring that the top quality product at the right price is going to the end consumers, which are primarily the ethos of D2C also, that you remove the middleman from the picture and try to do at the right price for right consumers. So this has been typically how we have been scaling with our business.
So Jitendra, I will just have a follow-up question on that. You mentioned category creation. So, and we are a population of 140 crores. So, how do you define that category creation? Because hair and this, when you say only brand who manufactures complete product from start to scratch to the consumer, is that your differentiation in the market, or how do you then differentiate? Because only category creation, maybe the price wise you are right, that you are selling an AOV of 5K, but this bit, I'm just asking this question because it's very astonishing.
Yeah. So, like in the beginning only I mentioned that ideally the market for us to start with was, let's say, US and Europe or the developed markets. So this is a category where we are saying, let's say, products made of human hair, which has been donated in temples or wherever. There is no other way to actually get these hairs, right? So in US, which is alone a $6 billion market size, or Africa, or Europe also, this market is pretty well established already. However, within the Indian markets, maybe because of probably, if we talk about, let's say, years before, people were not really, maybe it was too early for them to think of having hair extension products to use them on themselves, because generally Indian women all have good hair in the past and all. So that has been sort of the things that has been there. Rather, I would say it is pretty much like the trend which has been in the Western markets or the developed markets, pretty much transits to Indian markets, especially with the onset of the disposable incomes. So that is something I would say has been one of the, I would say that is why probably is the right time for this category to create. And you mentioned about the mode part.
Yeah.
So what has happened basically, if you look at the global industry, source lies within India. The top quality source or raw material lies in India. Manufacturing techniques were developed in China in the last 40-50 years. 50 years back, this hair used to be burned by temples. Then they realize slowly, and the Koreans realize that it's a $14 billion market size opportunity. That is where the whole manufacturing techniques part and all of that came into picture. So what we have been doing is basically using all, I'm a chemical engineer, and this is most of the techniques that we are using into it are hair coatings, hair processing, and all of those. That is something which has not been done in India yet, and the reason has been that 95% only raw material was exported. Our idea is to make the top quality finished products and send it across the world.
Excellent. So India ka baal India mein rehna chahiye aur benefits rehna chahiye, right? So if I have to talk to Anshita about this from Jitendra to Anshita, because that was not my original plan, but now I am trying to figure out how we can get some synergy. थोड़ा बहुत synergy आना चाहिए, and then we have got Ridhima also. But tell us, Anshita, about Fix My Curls. How have you built your brand? How old is this brand?
It's 4 years old.
4 years old. And excuse me. क्या ये edit कर देंगे हम. But सब जन आ रहे स्क्रीन में सब.
सर आ रहे सर. माइक ना अपने पास रख के बोलेंगे ना वॉइस क्लियर आएगा.
Okay. So because then I am clear that you don't have to shift it here and there. Then I know what you gave, because that won't be the part of the original recording.
Okay.
And then I will ask that question which I want to ask, carry forward from there.
I'll give it to you, right? I won't look at the camera.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's, I just wanted to ensure that everybody is covered in the frame.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Okay.
That's why I interrupted. Now I will not interrupt. Yeah, please.
Okay, not a problem. So Fix My Curls is a curly and wavy hair care brand. We started 4 years ago in 2019. And we basically want to foster a community of people who take care of their naturally textured hair. Usually, I mean, in our country, there's a stigma around textured hair, so most people straighten their hair. But we're here to give them products to keep their hair naturally as they're born with it. So that's a little bit about Fix My Curls.
Sure, thanks. So, what is your unique value proposition, Ridhima?
I mean, it's pretty unique. It's curly and wavy hair, right? So
Curly and
wavy hair as well.
So that is the only segment that you...
That is the only segment. Our focus is completely on this niche, and we've also created a category. So when we started, there were only 2 other brands that had started just months before us. So we've actually grown together, we've literally created influencers together. We've made the community. It didn't exist, 4.5 years back when I started. I'd moved back to India. I was in Canada for a little bit for my undergrad. So I'd come back, and I obviously have very naturally curly hair. And because I'd already been there, again, a developed market, curly hair care was already available. But I came back to India and there's nothing. You would have to, get imported products, and the prices were ridiculous. So I knew that there was a huge gap. Generally, there is a gap in the global market as well for textured hair, and by that I mean curly, wavy, coily hair. Anything but straight hair basically isn't catered to. So we also built a segment just like Jitendra did. Same way, we had to educate customers. We had to remove the stigma from their minds that curly hair is not bad. It's not ugly, and it can actually look very nice, but you just need to take care of it how it needs to be cared for. So I think...
in fact, people spend to
get their hair curled now. Yeah, I mean, so exactly. So that's what we're trying to bring here, but it's not as common in India. So I think...
Is that the brand extension you're looking for?
Perms?
Huh?
No. I think Jitendra is taking care of that with the extensions. He has curly hair extensions too. Yeah.
So in these 2 brands, I have seen 2 new categories, and that's the uniqueness of the Indian D2C ecosystem. With our limited exposure to the D2C founders, we have seen that the creation of a new category is something unique to these guys, and that's where I can see this. From here, again, I'll go back to now Tanvi. Tanvi, you are in a different category. Is it formal in India yet or not? You can just introduce the category, the business, and then you can answer this question. How much formal is your category?
So we are into gardening sector, where we simplify gardening by providing live plants and other gardening essentials like plant nutrients, gardening accessories and tools. So what I saw was that before pandemic, it was not that huge. And also, I think when pandemic happened and there was social alienation, people did not have that social fabric to go out, and they started spending more and more time indoors. And that is when I think there was more time at disposal for people where they could invest in such activities, like just building a garden for themselves. And in fact, like for GardenGram, our biggest market is in tier 3 and tier 4 cities. And I was surprised when initially orders started pouring from northeast and interiors of Bihar, UP, and all these places. And everybody wants plants now. And I think also with the extension of the purchasing power that people have, more social media coming in with the aesthetics, Instagram, all of these feel-good factors coming in, I think people are more drawn towards plants now. Like it's become a way of life for a lot of people. Yeah.
So what is the opportunity for you here in terms of GardenGram as a business
So for
model?
us, our focus is mostly on tier 3 and tier 4 cities because that is where, because we are also based out of Bihar. And for us, it has been a huge challenge when we started because we had to work with different stakeholders in e-commerce sector, like just understanding and explaining the nature of e-commerce. Like for example, if a delivery has to be done, then how important it is for all the stakeholders to come together. Or in terms of everything for us, be it marketing, be it just having that tech, logistics, everything. So because we are also situated in a challenging landscape, so for us, we are able to resonate with the market easily, with the tier 3s and tier 4s. Northeast is very near to us, so that way it's very convenient for us, and there's increase in demand also over there. Because the landscape over there for plants is also very challenging. They are very different sort of plants that they grow. So for them to just experiment with indoor plants, now the categories are coming in, like for example, people are drawn to air purifying plants, vastu plants,
Yes,
decor plants. So it's huge.
it's huge.
Yes.
And any experience with the metros?
Yes. So we deliver pan India. So metros are there. In metro, so it's different customers and different understanding in different parts. Like in metropolitans, people are very used to buying online.
Yeah.
But in places like interiors of Bihar, UP, even Maharashtra, Northeast, it needs more education and also building more trust on online channels of buying. Because there's a lot of mistrust over there, so that is something that
Tanvi, you are in a business where your product grows very fast. So how do you manage the inventory?
inventory is something that, so one of the major things for us is that we are consciously not trying to build a huge nursery for ourselves. We are tying up with different nurseries so that we are able to take care of their inventory and their also leveraging on that. So also in the interiors like logistics and different aspects of e-commerce is not very readily available for nurseries, right? So for us being there is just like a very organic match for us.
Okay. Thanks, Tanvi. Shikha, how's this? And this is again a furnishing, homeware, lifestyle brand. What made you enter this very competitive category in India?
It's a great question, one that I ask myself often because like you rightly said, it is a hyper-competitive, highly unorganized segment. Even when I started, there were multiple players. It's also a category that has many subcategories if one were to choose to operate, right? Home is not just one singular, and I think the problems like some of the speakers have mentioned, they're targeting specific problems, but in the course of my journey, I've had to really take a call on what problem I want to solve. So I'll start with that. I started because I just think that there is space for a functional, well-priced, high-quality brand in this space, like you have Batra in the US, for example, right, which is creating an end-to-end solution, keeping the American lifestyle in mind, or like they have a Western equivalent. So there are amazing brands outside that really celebrate the lifestyle of that country, and I think that kind of counterpart can definitely be created here. What's interesting is that I think for what has worked for Housethis is that we've been very sharp about who we're addressing. So home in itself is a cluttered category, but at the onset we said we're going after a certain segment of customer, right? We're not, so in home it's interesting, you see even in Delhi, the way home buyer shop varies you from a Rajouri to a South Delhi. it's a pretty tough category in that sense, but we're very sharp from the beginning that we're going after the apartment customers who are young professionals who, let's say, just moved from smaller towns, setting up base, their first studio. So we've had a very sharp lens of who the customer. We very famously say internally, we're an apartment brand, right? We're not somebody who probably is bought from a conference in Delhi. So we've been very true to who the customer is, and then within that, really finding white spaces as to what the customer, which is not the way the category is normally looked at. People just think it's bed sheets or it's pillows.
Yeah.
It's really not that. We're really trying to solve customer problems. People have issues about dust in India. People have issues about maintenance. So we've really gone functionally into every category. So offering high quality bedding that is easy to maintain, educating the customer, which a lot of, like Jitendra spoke about, you have to do that even in this category. So I think staying sharp about who the customer is, very problem led, right? Not just saying I'm selling a bed sheet to you. And very important, which a lot of brands I think in this space ignore, is just supply chain efficiency. We've gone direct to artisans. We've really developed a very interesting supply chain where we can do low MOQ products. So that way we're very sharp in terms of what we keep offering to the customer. So these are 3-4 interesting tenets on which the brand has been built. But to your point, absolutely, it's still a very competitive category, and what remains is an opportunity to be tapped into at this point.
Thanks, Shikha. Anuj, over to you. You have a brand named Bacca. I hope I pronounced it right. First question which I want to ask you is, how come this name, a unique name, Bacca, which is a very attractive name? Can you throw some light there?
Yeah, sure.
Before I come to the business part?
So basically, when we started, we always wanted to have a fancy name for our brand, and because we started very early, around 2014. So it's just that we wanted a fancy name and it has to be there. So like for men's slippers, we have flip-flops. So there was really no need of having flip-flops as a separate word. Men's slippers was already there. So similarly to like flip-flops, we decided on having a fancy name.
Okay. So my question is again the same to you. There may be hundreds and thousands of players in the market. Each market will have so many of them.
Yes.
How do you differentiate yourself in this crowded market? Because ultimately it's a product which everybody has to wear.
Yes.
And there are hundreds of thousands of manufacturers with that.
Right.
And India has a very, very strong footwear ecosystem
Right.
in terms of manufacturing and distribution, etc. is there. So why did you venture this? How do you manage?
Yeah, so interesting question. So yes, everyone largely think like you. Like basically, it is more of a crowded category.
Yeah.
But then we are blessed to have 140 crores, and even if you apply multiple filters, there are so many white spaces in each category that you will be left out in population as good as Australia.
Wow.
So that is the blessing that we have. We are in a dynamic democratic country wherein there is a white space in almost each category. And when we see footwears, so you'll be surprised to know that India is one of the largest producer of footwear, and not just for the domestic consumption but also largely for the imported, for international brands. But then we definitely don't see any premium domestic brand that has a store outside of India or also in India. In India, we largely see that premium footwear are largely owned by the international brands like Nike or AJs and all. So it really surprises me a lot that we being the suppliers to them, we do not have our own domestic brand, which has that aim of having giving premium to mid-premium sneakers or boots or maybe sports shoes to our Indian audience. So that is where Bacca comes handy. We have always been looking for white spaces in the category, and we've been successful in doing that. So we are into mid-premium to premium category, wherein our ASP and AOV is around 2,000, and largely we have identified that footwear category in India is broadly in 3 segments. Either it's premium above 5,000 or it's massive below 1,000. But then there is a very big white space between 1,000 to 4,000. That is where we always keep ourselves, introducing new designs and keep adding new categories. So we have always been fast fashion brand. We always look into adding new designs every month. We do not do organic testing summer launches. So that has been our goal.
Good. Thanks, Anuj. Now we move to Ashish. I was talking to Ashish. Ashish has a product which is extremely dear to me. I was just telling outside, I'm still fond of diaries. And I've got a huge collection of diaries, and Ashish is in that space. Ashish, just introduce your the company and what made you get into this product category to create a business model like my Paperclip.
Sure. So we are a notebook and a stationery brand, primarily focused on notebooks, and now overall the brand focuses towards anything and everything that you use in a study or a work desk. So that's been the brand positioning. We are a premium sort of notebook brand, which completed 10 years in this July.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. The idea of starting this brand was primarily to say that India did not have any sort of premium notebook brand when we started. On our international trips as a family, we would go sort of pick up a Moleskine or any other notebook that we could get our hands on, very expensive as well, right? And we were in the printing business as a family back in the day. Leveraging on that, this actually started off as a hobby. To say we have access to the best papers in the world. So even till today, if you pick up any Paperclip notebook, the outside covering material is from Europe. The threads that we use to bind the notebook together comes from Germany. We only use 3M to glue our products, and then all the inside paper is either locally sourced from one mill or coming from different parts of Europe and some parts of Indonesia. That time when we started, we said, okay, we will hands down make the best notebook that your money can buy, irrespective of the cost, because this was running as a hobby. First 3 years, our notebooks were priced at something like $800 back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And then we said, okay, there is potential to grow it. Let's try and sort of stress on how we can control the supply chain. So today there are mills that don't make papers only for us. These are mills that started in the 1800s. They're older than countries altogether, right? So there are mills that make paper only for us today. We have the advantage of cost in terms of supply chain. So we brought the cost down to close to about our starting range notebook. A very tiny sort of notebook starts at 95 rupees, but then the basic range starts at about 250 to 70 bucks. What surprises me even today, though we started with that, is every year we launch a planner segment. One of the most expensive planners that you can buy from our brand is at 2,000 rupees. 95% of the sales from now to January are dominated by that 2,000 rupee planner, which continues to even surprise me. I don't know how that happens. But what it shows me that India is a large market. If you have a great product, people are willing to pay a price for that, and that's with the ethos that we started. Even today, if you look at any competition in the country that we are a brand that is 1.5x the price of what's available, but we're 10x the quality that your money can buy anywhere in the world. So much so that our vegan leathers that we import from Italy come from the same sort of sister companies that Gucci sources from. And today we make notebooks for Burberry. So it's been a long ride. I think it's been a great ride so far, and the ethos has not changed.
Excellent. Thanks, Ashish. We'll go to Ridhima. Works. So Ridhima, you said you are the only odd person out. You started offline. You had a traditional business.
Yes.
And then you found, so the brand still remains Namhya Foods. So this was the old traditional brand.
Yes, that time we did not intend to formulate into a formalized brand. The idea was to kind of, put whatever we had in the market and see where it goes. There was no blanket and the idea that we created out of Namhya Foods that time. And that was it. And I think the intention to kind of start Namhya Foods was primarily that we wanted to give an idea to what we were trying to do and kind of structure it in a way that it speaks to volumes of people and not kind of. So I think that's how the journey has been.
So you did mention about those, health related. So is your segment, how do you define your segment?
So I think we are very clear that are and we will be in the preventive healthcare segment. So I think our competition is the medical industry. And the idea is to be self-sustainable when it comes to health. There's a whole lot of side effects and things that can happen to you once you start having allopathic medication. And you go maybe 60-70 years back from today, and nobody used a dose 650. So how do you sustain yourself? How do you sustain your health right in your house by using something that you can go back to every day and use with some enjoyment or use with some excitement, because Goli and Churan is not something that people want to do every day, right? But can you create something that has those herbs and can it become a lifestyle product that you choose to go to it every day, right? That was the concept that we wanted to bring in. And I think it's been just 3.5 years and there's a long way from here. But of course, in a metro, nobody knows what a paneer roti is. In a metro, nobody knows what a harad is, right? So there's so many, so Ashwagandha got its limelight, Shilajit got its limelight, but there are those 1,000 herbs sitting in small villages which haven't gotten the limelight that they should have, right? So the idea is to kind of course, again, it's a very big category creation job. And of course, there's a lot of content creation that needs to be there. So we're doing our bit. I think it's still very early on. It's been 3.5 years for us. And there's a long way before we kind of create this into an ecosystem that can talk volumes for itself.
So if there are 2-3 questions come, if it is not known, then it must be pricey in terms of the quality will be good, but the cost will be extremely high, not affordable for a common man.
See, there are ways to look at it. If you will start comparing it with a regular tea, of course, it is slightly unaffordable, right? But if I count it, or if I compare it with an allopathic medication, it is way too cheaper, right? So, let's say my PCOS, PCODT, or rather my diabetes tea, 1 cup is for 8 to 9 rupees, right? Now imagine how many things we, eat in a day which are much, much costlier and are doing no good to the body, right? So it's the lens that you put to kind of use a product. If you know that it's going to help you heal from a certain problem, and that too without any side effects, in a very natural, consistent way, then of course it's affordable for anybody who chooses to. But yes, I will agree with the point that it is unaffordable for a few people. And eventually, of course, we want to make it available for everybody, right? So we have our own constraints in terms of being a bootstrap brand, trying to run the factory and every ecosystem in the brand, which is self-sustaining. So for all of those things, you need to kind of put a price to the product. But eventually, of course, our aim is to kind of get there.
Okay. Now we come to the second part of the roundtable, and that is scaling operations and managing growth. This is a general thing. What we are going to do is we are going to take pointers from all of you. Okay, what are the impediments or the challenges that you guys are facing in scaling? And we will talk from an operations perspective, which is the core, like for example sourcing, down that is source from Namhya, and just thinking aloud. So what are those operational challenges which, and because we got a good mix from lifestyle, food, healthcare, stationery, I think these challenges will be common to all the startups. So this is a D2C startup oriented discussion, and not a established brand who is there since last 50, 30, 10 years and you doing big things. So we want your challenges rather than what the market says. So from your perspective, please tell us what are the major challenges from an operational efficiency perspective. Again, we will start with Jitendra.
So talking about the operational part of it, I think we briefly touched upon was our parts, especially again in a category creation product, or where you would not know what product would pick up when. So inventory management has been one of the issues that we face at times. For example, in last year versus today, if I look at the product which is my hero product today, was selling 5% of last year. So obviously, sometimes what you do while you are in a category creation phase. For example, for us there are two major categories. One is the need-based category, which is, let's say, the hair loss category. The other one is the aspirational fashion one. So while you are in a category creation phase, even to estimate the correct time is very difficult. All of those things. So while you are introducing newer products, while you are deciding where to focus more, where the bigger market chunk lies, then obviously operationally one of the challenge that comes also into the picture is the estimation and projection of the inventories that you need to build up. Especially for our category, again, as the AOVs are high, so obviously the cost of building the inventory is also high. So that sometimes with respect to, with all young D2C brands, the cash flow management and all those sort of things, to have a good cash flow management and to have a good inventory management, that is something like with established or the traditional businesses, they have figured it out over a period of time. So in the scaling part, I feel that is one of the challenge. In our category specifically, or what we feel since it is so unorganized at the back end. So obviously, again, cash management, but in a different manner becomes a big challenge. For example, when we are sourcing our raw material, we are paying upfront. But while we are working, let's say, with the salons and all, we have to rotate the money that way. And also, those sort of operational challenges eventually come down to how well you plan your inventory and how you are able to make that. So that has been one of the bigger, I would say.
Okay, this is a business also happens in India.
Yeah.
Line to line. Right. Tanvi, what about you?
So, I'm going to speak from the perspective of having a business in a place like Bihar. So, we talk about startups everywhere, when we talk about metropolitan style, like Batra, Delhi, Mumbai, etc. So, startup culture is here. But when I talk of Bihar, where I am from, it's not very common knowledge right now. Like I remember when I wanted to have GardenGram and I was all said that I want to start it from Bihar. Everybody's like, don't have it over there. Like you can go to any other metropolitan and to scale like this. Because it was a lot of educating the stakeholders. Like for example, logistics. Like even now for me, like I work with some of the logistics companies to just ask them to start pickups to my area. And there are perceptions like, oh, it's a rural area, like we just don't work over there. And I'm like, e-commerce people are ordering from everywhere.
Yeah.
They need products and we need to be there. So I think for us, logistics is one of the major challenges. We talk about developments, funding, startups, businesses, promoting modern businesses and everything. But and I know that there are platforms that gets all different stakeholders together. But I still think that there is a lot that can be done for logistics.
Sure.
When we deliver in metropolitans or tier 1 cities, our experience is very different. When we do it in tier 4 cities, when we do it especially in the northeast part, logistics just takes a backseat. Especially in the northeast, we have for every single order we have to manually call the companies and just streamline deliveries. So I think that is one of the biggest challenges for us when it comes to logistics. Then, as Jitendra was mentioning, that you don't know, with the way e-commerce works, which product is suddenly going to spike, because you're banking on a product, you think that's your hero product, you've been building, and all your strategies have been around that.
Just to answer later,
yes.
Can AI or predictive analytics solve this part? Okay, we discuss about the solution to this.
Yes.
Because right now I want to spend more time on the problem so that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. At the end of this conversation, there will be an 8th startup who is going to address the journalism. So I'm going to come up with that startup. Okay, so please.
So this one is definitely a challenge.
Sure.
And the third one, it's related to cash flow, but also with the way people return, the RTO rates that happen. And now that is dependent on a lot of different factors, right? Like how the customer experience is, how quickly the order has been delivered, how satisfied they are. They are in taking the product, But I think that also kind of challenges the cash flow because you're banking on the sales that you've made, right? But then it's not a sale till the time customer takes it and makes the payment. And again, then the logistics company is the one which is taking the payment, right? And then even they have their cycles. Different companies have different cycles. So all of that kind of is a challenge.
Sure. Shikha, what are your imperatives?
I mean, I probably come from a lens where, which I think a lot of apparel and lifestyle brands have, which is many SKUs, right? So we have, I think, any time on an average, at least 1,200 SKUs in our portfolio across multiple categories because it's a big brand. We designed it like that, and that is the story with many lifestyle players. I think it starts from the get-go. It's I took an example when we started the brand, we were doing a 6-month buy and inventory range planning. We moved to quarterly now because the consumer taste keeps evolving. So we feel that which puts pressure on us because we have to deliver that much faster. But I think just from creating the right product, given seasonality, it has been tremendous now, right? So I think that because I'm decor, it's a Christmas range you have to introduce. Like now, festivals have blown up in India, so you have to constantly, and it's lifestyle, it's home and living. So I think that's one challenge that, so we've gone to a shorter now sort of PD cycle because we have to do that, right? To be able to have freshness on the shelf all the time. I think another thing unique again to our category is we work a lot with artisans, so there is a lead time. You would love to be able to, there is a certain way of making a product and why we would love to service the customer faster. Lead times add up and consumers today want deliveries literally next day. That's the world we're living in. So I think these are unique to maybe the category in textile, but I wanted to speak from that lens because the whole idea was to share different experiences. But I mean, inventory, logistics, I can't double tap enough. I think those are challenges, but these are certain unique things. So we've actually just we've started using predictive models now and a lot of analytic tools which are great now, which have been in demand forecasting. Love to share that. And those are tools that I think are really beneficial. So we've really invested a lot of time and money and effort to create those kinds of touch points internally. And I think that's going forward for most brands to be able to have a right to win in that sense.
Thanks, Shikha. And this is a major problem not only with you, but all the retailers. This is the biggest challenge. But like shorter cycles and predictive analytics, these are some of the solutions. What are your imperatives, Anuj?
So when we talk about especially about D2C, what we have noticed over these especially last couple of years is that now consumers have this habit of, as everyone has said, that they now want next day or same day deliveries. So despite of this fact that now you have a regional utilization, you are present across 8 or 9 states or 10 states in India, but still it's really challenging for you to manage your inventory as everyone has said. So that's obviously one big challenge. Another challenge that we have faced is that reconciliation is really tough when it comes to your payments, and be it through marketplaces or be it through your own D2C and payment reconciliation with the logistics partner is the biggest pain point. And that is where most of the founders or I have seen do not care much about because they just say that it is an inherent limitation of doing D2C, like having a D2C digital first brand. But that is where you usually find your cost centers like. So yes, because why they usually skip is because whenever you try and do reconciliation, it's really tough because of the dynamic nature of the business. So one big operational inefficiencies that we face is about reconciliations, another is inventory management, logistics. Even if you are present across across states and very near to your consumers. The way your inventories are scattered is very difficult for you to identify your high top sellers and then how much when you should recall because you need to pay storage charges as well.
Yes.
So that's the challenge.
Ashish, what would be your big challenge at my Paperclip?
So I completely agree with you. I think recon on COD orders picked up by shipping partners, there is no way to reconcile it, hands down. There is just no way to reconcile it. If any other brand is doing it, I would love to come down to your office and understand how you guys are doing it. Specifically COD reconciliations in which shipping partner collects some money and it's paid, there is no way. But that said, I think, so from the standpoint of our brand, we are a growing company, we're growing at about 50% year on year, with standardized EBITDA margins that we work on. It's higher double digits. The problem that we face as a company today is to hire non-core activity people. By which I mean like we're not a design company, so very hard to hire designers and retain them. Very hard to hire tech guys and retain them. So we have to outsource those activities and continue to do with what's available. Now, as a company, I think 90% of our raw material comes from outside, and we're spoiled as a company like that because the paper that we buy, the threads that we buy, all of that is very standardized quality for the last 10 years that we've been operating. The challenge comes in when we're procuring stuff from India. And when we procure stuff from India and some mills in India, the quality is just bonkers. You get some great quality, something very, and it's just, there's very chalta attitude in the country. And that's been, one of our challenges. The third thing is we're just expanding internationally now. And internationally, compliance is a nightmare as well. And that's why I think for this platform and Rai heading this, from the standpoint of compliance for small companies doing international business, the rules have to be relaxed at least from the standpoint of RBI. So a small example, if you sell, and we don't do any credit in the market. We are 100%, our goods leave our facility when it's paid for, right? And we learned this at RBI. One small example is if you're sending something outside the country today, and you give anything on credit, for example, right? Or even if I do an intercompany transfer, I have an office in Amsterdam, so if I do an intercompany transfer, the money has to come hit my account, which is at the exact address. So if I raise an invoice of 100 rupees, 100 rupees have to come into my account in 240 days. Okay. If it doesn't come in, I get a RBI notice of money laundering. And that's true if I get 101 rupees, 1 rupee extra, okay, or if I get 99 rupees. So these challenges, there's no relaxation, right? So last year I think we got a RBI notice of 30 rupees for an intercompany transfer. So I'm like, what the hell is going on? So compliance is a little bit of a challenge for startups where you don't have large sort of compliance management teams and not enough lawyers on the board, all of that. So I think that has to be looked at from a different lens for startups.
Sure. Tanvi, what would be your key challenges? Tanvi, then I'll come to you.
Who's Tanvi?
Yeah, sorry, Anshita.
Then that's me, yeah.
No, I just read that and just tried. Sorry, I'm quite
So I think everyone has covered a lot. I don't know if this is working. Is it working?
It's working. Mike?
Is it working? Is it working and I'm very close to it? Okay. I think everyone has covered pretty much everything, but from more of a D2C lens, the reason that they're saying that you never know when one product will sell more than the other, which is why you can't plan for the inventory, is because of performance marketing campaigns. So it's a very specific problem that only D2C brands today have if you don't have a wider distribution model. And if you're reliant on those campaigns, what happens is you never know, one could have a really great return on ad spend, suddenly do very, very well. You haven't planned for it because you maintain an average, right? Everyone has an average ROAS, which is return on ad spend. If it's greater than that, then suddenly you have an influx of orders that you haven't planned for. And if you also have B2B on the side, then you have these businesses raising POs. So you have to fulfill those POs as well. So who comes first, customer or the other businesses you work with? So I think that is one operational challenge where we have to make a choice sometimes, where we literally have to tell a customer, we're so sorry, it's going to take longer because, say, Nykaa has placed an order and we have to fulfill that PO or we'll get stocked out. And again, you can't really plan for this. I really hope AI can fix this. But again, AI doesn't know that you've just launched a performance marketing campaign that may or may not do very, very well. So in that sense, I just think that you have to have the knack for understanding that if you've pushed out a campaign, it could do really well. Keep the inventory for that product you've pushed it out for. At least for us, I think, because we run it SKU wise. You will run it for one SKU. You'll have 10 campaigns running. So if one does really well, you should be prepared for that. But sometimes we don't prepare for it. I mean, and that's just literally part of being a startup. Like these are the things that you learn on a day-to-day basis. And the other issue is the credit cycle. Like in India, the chalta hai attitude is a huge problem. Everything is relationship based. If you
Yes.
don't have a good relationship with them, they will not give you the money. It doesn't matter if your contract says 40 days, it will come in 60 days. And if it says 40 days, it can come in 30 also if
Relationship.
you have a good relationship with them and they understand ki, okay, these guys need it for their working capital. But that also takes time to build. So I think these are just ops issues that you will have if you're a small business, because that's the kind of country we're in. There are just so many of us and everything is very disorganized. Still very disorganized.
Okay. Last, Ridhima.
Honestly, on the contrary, I believe that we are in the best times of Asian. I started my career with selling smartphones in 2015, and if I kind of recall the kind of stuff we used to do back then, and the kind of money we used to spend on creating ecosystem for warehouses, and then knocking doors of Flipkarts and Amazon, I think from there to now it's just very easy, right? So I think people who kind of started very early on in the D2C had very great challenges. I think we have a lot of ready-made systems that we can avail. Today, we have eight warehouses in the country, and none of us is architect. So it's all it's this such great structure that we have, I think, operationally now that we've never had, and it's only going to go smooth. But I think you choose your battles. Like I am operating from Jammu and Kashmir. There are disturbances, and we are so used to the disturbances, since our childhood. And you choose your battle in terms of you want to have a smoother supply chain and have issues with the end customer logistics, right? So you kind of choose what you want. But of course, we are an ecosystem. We are a brand that does, no preservatives food.
Yeah.
When you're doing a no preservatives food, the shelf lives are as close to 3 months, right? So, of course, but at some point you make a decision as a brand that you want to do it or you don't want to do it. So when you've chosen the battle, then you don't have an escape.
You don't have an escape.
And same goes for working in India. When you've chosen India, then there will be things that will come along the way, which are challenges to India. So I think you kind of learn it on the way. I feel it's just more about that.
So we'll come to the last two questions. One is on customer, the other is on pricing and profitability. So first one is customer acquisition and retention. How can you efficiently and effectively acquire customer in today's competitive environment? And I would request maybe a 2-sentence answer from all of you so that I can then ask 1 or 2 more questions on this part, because this is something everybody wants to grow. Now that growth will come, balancing growth and operational efficiency. We spoke about operational efficiency in terms of the challenges that we are facing right now. But now how do we grow? So first thing is, how do we acquire the customer? The more we acquire, the more we grow. So if you can give your 1 or 2 strategies or ideas that can be helpful for us to collate this together. Jitendra, again we'll do the round.
So I think for the customer acquisition part, yes, it's true actually. Like Anshita mentioned, a lot of things are phased out of the performance marketing and all these performance marketing campaigns and all of those things. But with the competitions and all of those, eventually the customer acquisition costs are going high and so. So that is actually also one of, I would say, a challenge in a D2C segment. That how do you acquire a customer considering profitable unit economics as well. I think if I have to say acquiring a customer base, still I would say omnichannel sort of an approach is what really makes a difference.
So Jitendra goes for omnichannel. We will move to Tanvi.
So I think it's a mix, as Jitendra mentioned, it's omnichannel, and also we are talking about how your performance marketing campaigns serve. So it also has to be a mix of organic and digital strategies. Like, reviews matter a lot, like having loyalty programs matters a lot. So these sort of tools and options can be explored, but at the end of the day, everything has to come together so that it's more cost effective.
Sure. Shikha.
No, I think feet on street makes a huge difference. I mean, you can never go out of style being on the ground, especially for a touch and feel category like home. We need to have customers feel and experience the product. So I think even events are a great way. I think while you're building your D2C funnel, go with events, have the customer, find you at places. I think that makes a huge difference. One other small input is also, I think, coming back to the digital bit, just keeping content marketing from the get-go, because sometimes performance is very tactical. It's obviously day-on-day sales. But if you have a strong content marketing strategy and you're building for the long term, those are customers you're going to acquire. And they may not buy immediately because they may not have a need, but if they discover you through great content, so I think that's a very important thing on the digital front, to keep that as a parallel strategy while you're doing your performance marketing and spends.
I agree with Shikha. Content marketing strategy is core to creating the brand. We move to Anuj.
So for customer acquisition, I would say primarily if I see from a D2C lens, yes, the customer experience is the key. You should be able to give as good as experience as Amazon, because they now have an habit of using Amazon as their interface for larger part of their orders that they do. So you should try and make sure that your customer get as good experience as Amazon. It is not just about getting acquiring the customers after sales, staying in touch. Also, when it comes to BTL spends, target your correct audience with the correct products. And also, usually what I have seen founders not doing is that spending on ATL. I know it takes a budget, but then even if you put some ATL spends and on a targeted audience, it will back your BTL spend. So probably setting up a canopy at the cyber park, or doing some college fest or annual sponsorships at the college fest as well. So even these works. Like I'm talking about Bacca bookies. It can be different for other brands.
Sure.
So this is what I think is important for customer acquisition.
Ashish.
So I think customer acquisition costs are not the discussion for D2C brands. I personally feel that. I think customer retention is what everyone is striving towards. And with that thought, I think as a brand, as a brand, we firmly believe that a customer that buys your product for the first time is not a customer. The customer who buys your product for the second time is going to be your customer, and chance of them converting is much higher, and hence your customer acquisition cost retention. One way we do this is, and it's drained in first principles, deliver more than what you promise. That's it. And if the customer likes the product as the first time, they will anyways not have to buy it for the second time. And at that time, it won't matter, if you're delivering the product in 2 days or 3 days or 1 hour or 10 minutes. If the customer wants it, they'll get it because they are spending the money. They're smart enough to know where to spend their money.
Good. Anshita, how will you acquire the customer?
So I think the approach we've taken is having a community full of aspirational role models for our customers. So when they look at that specific person, it could be an influencer, it could be me as the founder, they feel, okay, I relate. I might buy the product. And this is in terms of retention. The more you show them the lifestyle they could have with the product, they feel more attached to the product. Otherwise, you're just another product that's solving a problem, right? Everyone's doing that now. So I'm talking about when they're already in your funnel. So after the top of the funnel, when they're already in your funnel, they know about the brand, they've seen one ad maybe or two ads, haven't made a purchase yet. I think at that point, it becomes showing them who they could be after using the product. So I think that is what we do in terms of customer acquisition. And then retention is just make the community very engaging. So whether it's your social media community or on-ground activities, you should be speaking their language. So you should know exactly who your customer is.
Ridhima.
Our brand is completely based on the customer coming back. There's no point of the brand if the customer doesn't come back, right? Because when you will come back.
Yes.
So of course that's the focus, and of course the strategy can change. Today the strategy is of course Facebook and Google marketing, but looking at how the numbers have changed, it's going to die out eventually, right?
Yeah.
Because most of the control is with Meta and Google and not with the brand.
Agreed.
The idea is of course to kind of give some value addition to the customer that can help them retain. And for us, I think most of it, the product itself does the job. If you're getting your periods every month, you're not skipping the brand. So that's what we try and kind of do. So we work on the product. That's what we do.
Good. So product is the right way to
Yeah.
achieve the customer. Now we come to the final point. We started with a brief introduction, then we had some short three sentences, and now I would like to have one word, from all of you, and it can be three areas which you feel are imperative for today's D2C players, keeping in mind balancing growth and operational efficiency in India, because you spoke about India, and India, because all of you have either are exporting products or you have worked abroad, or you have faced that difficulty working in the certain sectors of the country. So keeping that in mind, I need your advice. What would be your advice? And this is from your perspective. Those three words which you feel are an imperative for the D2C brand for today. And now this anybody can give, or we'll start with Jitendra.
Words.
3 words, yeah. We don't want sentences, we want 3 words is what I want to end this panel discussion around.
What, why, when? That's how I would
What?
say. What, that means your product, or why, and when.
Very good.
I think for me it's communication,
Communication,
collaboration,
collaboration,
and venture out, like being on the street.
venture out. Okay. Shikha?
I would say your proposition, product, and process. Know your customer, get the idea right, deliver, like everyone said, fantastically on the product. And as you're doing it, build a super strong process to be able to let it reach the customer. And I think you're there. No easy ask, but these are the 3 pillars for me. So it would be proposition, product, and process.
Fair enough. Anuj?
Yeah, so for me it would be customer experience. 1, 2 would be understanding so if I have to tell you one word, correct product as you mentioned, yes. Experience, product, and communication.
Good. Ashish?
For me, it's going to be the right product, get the right experience, and build the right brand around that product and experience.
Okay. Anshita?
What I'll say may not make sense, but hero, villain, and education.
Okay. Hero, villain.
Yes. So the hero is the customer, the villain is their main problem you're trying to solve, and education is educating them further on why it's important for them to come back to you.
Very good. Most creative. Hero, villain, and education. Can I use this in future?
Yes, you
Thank
can. It's from a workshop that I went.
Sure. Good. Ridhima?
I think for me it would be 2 rather. Right product and then patience for your right time.
Product and patience. Okay.
Today, it's a lot to do with patience than anything else. You need to be there enough. Not there.
Nice. So, if I have to just sum this up, the way we are going to acquire the customers is through perfect marketing campaigns, omnichannel, organic and digital both are required in today's world to acquire the customer. We will require loyalty programs. We will also require good positive reviews from the customers so that the brand equity also goes up. Feet on street is something that also has come up today, that without the feet on street you cannot acquire customer, and I think that is again a very important part for any brand to survive and grow and acquire. Something was spoken about content marketing. If you have to build your brand for the long term, you definitely want to have content marketing. Customer experience as good as Amazon is something which came up. Everybody knows how smooth the experience at Amazon is. So customer experience should be as good as that. BTL and ATL spends, both of them are equally necessary. It all depends on your budget. Increase in customer retention. Your customer becomes a customer when he buys the second time. So this is something which has also come up. Deliver more than you promise is the right way to acquire the customer. Create a community. So that is again a very important part in the D2C brand's journey, that if you can't create community, you won't be able to survive, acquire, and then grow. Aspirational role models, influencer marketing again is coming as one of the key areas for the D2C brands. And definitely the core to all of this is nothing but the product. So it is the product that will acquire the customer, keep the customer, and help grow your brand. So with this, I would like to thank all our panelists. Thank you very much for sharing all your insights here today at RISE, Retail India Summit and Expo. It has been a pleasure. Look forward to interact with all of you in the near future as well. Thank you.
So,